guys? Welcome back to the Black Gavel. I am the law dog, Larry Gibson, your favorite Q in law school. And as you can see, I have a different background today. That's because I'm up here visiting my friends in Boston for the weekend, and it's been a great one so far. I'm excited because it's only been 40 to 50 degrees, none of those negative days like there was last week up here, so I got pretty lucky. But you know what? Let's go ahead and get into all things NIL. Today, I plan on giving y'all a crash course on the NIL basics. I realize that some of my supporters are deep in the legal field, and they know a lot about the law, but little about sports. And I also realize that I have a lot of people who are deep into sports, but don't really know much about the laws around it. So I plan on tying all of it up. And now for y'all who are deep in the legal field and who knows sports, I promise you I'm going to drop a few gems on you too. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first things first. The Supreme Court case that made NIL deals possible is NCAA v. Alston. That case took place in July of 2021, and it was unlike the other cases because, one, the NCAA did not win this case. For 20 years, NCAA has been winning cases that stops NCAA athletes from being compensated, but this time they weren't so lucky. With this case, now athletes can be paid for their name, image, and likeness. This was big, but this was not something that was brand new to college students in general. Other college students could get paid for their name, image, and likeness, say if they're like a model or if they just were helping with marketing or anything, they could get paid because they were not on a sports scholarship. But the athletes couldn't do so. But now we can see that there's an even playing field for all college students after this ruling. It's also important to note that unlike the Supreme Court cases that came before that stopped college athletes from getting paid just to kind of bolster the name of amateurism, this case allows college athletes to get paid, but they still cannot get paid by the university. Also, the university cannot pay these collectives that are being created in order to then pay the athlete indirectly. That's not allowed. However, these colleges can give gifts to the collectives. We'll have to get into that a little later. Now, I will say this. College athletes being paid for their name, image, and likeness is something that is new for all athletes to be able to do, but there's been a couple who's kind of squeezed through the gaps in the past. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Deion Sanders Jr. while he was at SMU playing wide receiver, and also P. Diddy's son when he was in California playing wide receiver. They could both get paid for their name, image, and likeness. And let me go ahead and let Deion Sanders Jr. explain to you why that was.
You know something legendary that happened that people just don't know?
Shoot.
When Justin Combs, P. Diddy's son, went to UCLA, I used to see him hosting clubs. And I used to be like, because I was at SMU when he's at UCLA, and I used to be like, bro, how the fuck are you hosting clubs? Like, that's illegal. You can't do that. Because in college, you can't use your image, your name, nothing.
Yeah.
You can't use your likeness to make any money or to bring people to a business or establishment. But he's like, he argued with the NCAA that I've been Justin Combs my whole life. So this school did nothing for me. Then I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then I went and used that same argument.
Yeah.
So my junior year, I was able to do like the clothing brand and all that stuff.
That's real.
So it actually sucked back then because me and him were the only people that were able to, I think in like history, bro.
Yeah. To kind of pull that shit off.
And when my dad played, it's crazy. Y'all are gonna be the first people to hear this. When he was at Florida State, they wasn't able to do it either. But since he was playing Major League Baseball, he his last couple years or his last year, he wasn't on scholarship anymore. He said, I'm gonna just pay my own tuition.
All right, now you see how they found a little loophole. Let's talk about some other things that's possible. Before this court case, student athletes could not have agents. There were so many rules around them not having agents, which kind of hurt them a lot of the time whenever they were preparing for the draft and things of that nature. But now they can have agents, which is a great thing because they need an agent, they need an attorney, all things like that that's looking over these contracts. Also, what they can get from the school is they can get help looking over the legalese of these contracts to make sure that they're not, falling into a red herring or anything. But let's talk about contracts for a second. These student athletes are seeing more contract language than they ever have before. And it might get confusing, but let's go ahead and make it real simple. A contract needs 3 things to be valid. There needs to be offer, acceptance, and consideration on both sides, right? So what is an offer? That's a company saying, hey, we'd like you to market our things. What is acceptance? Acceptance is that student athlete saying, you know what, I'll sign this contract. I'll do that. Now, what is consideration? If you're not in a legal field or if you don't own a business, you probably don't know what consideration is whenever you're talking contracts, but it's pretty simple. It's, whatever each side is giving up to be bargained for. So for the company, they're giving up money. So they're like, you know what, I'll give you $5,000 to do this photo shoot, so I can use your name, image, and likeness in a commercial or something like that, right? So they gave up their money. The student is giving up his or her name, image, and likeness to that business to be used in that photo shoot and for that commercial or that post. There's clear consideration on both sides, so that will be a valid contract if there's offer and acceptance. Now, what's not valid is if a company is like, hey, I got $5,000 for you. You don't have to do nothing for it. Just keep on playing. That right there is not a valid contract. That's what we call a gift. And that's what the NCAA does not want to have. See, the Supreme Court made it possible for athletes to use their name, image, and likeness, but they did not give a rule book. So that falls on schools to have school policies around name, image, and likeness deals, and also states to have state laws that kind of govern these. And obviously, there's a ton of different schools, and we're doing this across 49 of the states. And so with that being said, there's no one policy or no one law that governs it all. So it could look a little different everywhere. But there are some basics that are kind of the same. And let's go back to student athletes getting helped by the university. This is something where Nick Saban and Deion Sanders is like, yo, we need more personnel on staff. We need a compliance coach that's helping these kids, making sure that everything they're doing is going well, because they don't want them to get sued or to get screwed. Another thing that's important to note is that an NIL deal cannot be performance-based. It cannot be school attendance-based. It's just a deal for a certain period of time. Now, when I say it can't be performance-based, that means that there cannot be a bonus in there that says, yo, if you throw for 4,000 yards, we're going to give you an extra $1 million. Or, yo, if you're a starter, you get your money. But if you're not a starter, you don't get your money. That's not legal. Also, you cannot say, hey, I'm only giving you this money as long as you're at Texas A&M. Because if a student athlete wants to transfer, that cannot impact their deal. Let's say you sign a deal with the collective at Texas A&M, and then you transfer to TCU. That Texas A&M collective still has to pay you. That right there sounds pretty dangerous, right? However, you got to remember this. The people running these collectives are shrewd business people, so they're looking for every single loophole to make sure that kind of stuff does not happen. So what do? They put what we call contingencies in these contracts. What are contingencies? Contingencies are like qualifications, right, or requirements. So if I'm a Texas A&M collective and I want my athlete that I'm signing to stay at Texas A&M, I can say, you know what? Every Tuesday and Thursday, you have to be at this bar in College Station making an appearance, at a certain time. And so if that athlete transfers to TCU or somewhere further, they probably can't make that appearance. And if they don't make those appearances, the first time you don't, that contract is no longer valid. And that's something that a lot of these athletes are not looking at sometimes. So this is why it's important to have somebody else who's not 17, 18, 19 years old that has been in business for a long time to look over these contracts. So what some of these businesses are also afraid of is athletes not holding up their end of the deal in the sports, even though that actually can't be bargained for, right? And so one case of this is LSU's quarterback, Myles Brennan, or should I say their former quarterback, Myles Brennan. LSU's quarterback signed a bunch of NIL deals and then quit the team, quit playing football, period. And all of those businesses still had to pay that man because at the end of the day, they were not paying him to play. They were not paying him to even attend LSU. They were just paying him for his name, image, and likeness, and that's it. And so these companies basically are signing these student athletes for a certain amount of time, whether it be for one post, one day, one semester, or 4 years, right? But these contracts cannot transfer over to the pros. So that's a very important thing to note right here. So if somebody has a bunch of NIL deals as an amateur athlete, they have to re-sign all of them in the pros. The last thing to note about these NIL deals is that they have to be what we call fair market value. So fair market value is just what it sounds like. The amount of money that it's for has to make sense, right? So let's say you got Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner. Let's say he's getting $30,000 for an Instagram post. Then let's say we got Caleb Williams, who's getting $50,000 for Instagram post. Let's say next year we have another quarterback like Shedeur Sanders who wins, and a company wants to give him $500,000 for one Instagram post. That's probably not going to be fair market value because it's so exorbitant in compared to the other ones, right? And so in order for the deals to be legit, they have to be fair market value, somewhere closer to that 30 or 50 range. It can be above, but it cannot be, they can't go crazy with it, basically. And so everything I talked about today was all questions from my subscribers. If y'all have any other questions regarding anything NIL, please let me know down in the comments. It's my pleasure to bring y'all this information. Also, we're on the road to 500 subscribers right now, so please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't mean much to you, but it means a lot to me. And like I always say, stay blessed.
I'm chillin', they call me K-Heflin. If she ain't ecstatic, I won't even bless her. Mans went to rehab, I sent him a letter. Tapped in with gang, say he feeling better. It ain't the winter, I got on this sweater. Yeah, I'm from the bean with the weather, wherever. I'm kinda cozy, I'm signing forever. I guess I'm a hoarder, collecting the trash.